So I got arrested for a crime that I didn't commit. Somebody else did. But before I get into that, this is a storytelling video, and it's very important because I'm going to tie everything together, and it's going to seem like I'm going off in a bunch of different places, but at the end it's all going to come together, and I'm going to tell you two things that is very important. One, everybody is guilty of this, and two, how to avoid any of it. So it doesn't matter if you're guilty or not, you don't have to worry about it. When I was 16 years old, there was a town in Missouri called Festus, Missouri, and it was the cruising capital of the world. And so what would happen is everybody would gather, all the teenagers would gather about 8 o'clock at night on Friday night, and they would cruise up and down Main Street in Festus, Missouri. They've been doing it for decades, probably since the 50s if I had to guess. Well, when I turned 16, just after my 16th birthday, Festus regulated that after midnight, they were going to lock it all down and make all the streets one way. And so it pretty much shut down the cruising after midnight. I was flirting with a girl and lost track of time. We were in the parking lot at Ventures, and I was flirting with her, and things were going pretty spectacularly. So it got late, and I got back in the truck, and I just started heading out the direction I came in at. And I passed up the road cone that had blocked the street the one way. It was past midnight and I didn't realize it. Well, I mean, I immediately got pulled over and got a ticket. So I had the ticket and I read the date, but it wasn't very clear. The handwriting was bad on the ticket. It wasn't very clear what the date said, but I made an assessment of what it was. And I was going to go in there and plead my case that I didn't think it was fair because I just lost track of time and got confused and was hoping the judge would show some leniency on me. I don't know, 16 and just aggravated about the whole thing. Got to the courthouse, nobody was there. So I immediately assumed I got the date wrong. So my dad decided that he was going to hire a lawyer to help me out with this. It was a family friend lawyer. And the lawyer said, "Oh yeah, no problem, I'll take care of this, don't worry about it." Well, that meant I wasn't going to get to fight my court case or anything. I don't know, a few months passed, and one of the police officers in my town, I lived in a small town. Now, Festus was a town close to me. I lived in Herculaneum, and I think Festus was 5 miles away. And the town cop, I mean, there was two of them. I actually remember one of their names. One of them stopped me at the convenience store right before school. And he says, "I just want you to know that there is a warrant out for your arrest. I'm not going to arrest you. I'm going to let you go to school. And we're going to wait until this weekend, and then we're going to come to your house and arrest you." "For what?" He says, I don't know. So it did. So he came by, knocked on the door, and he says, "Yeah, I got to arrest you." And I said, "Yeah, for what?" He said, "What it is you didn't show up to court for that ticket." And I said, "Wow, that's crazy. I thought we had a lawyer take care of that." So they arrested me. I think it was Saturday. It might have been Sunday. Regardless, it doesn't matter. And I got the fingerprints and the whole thing. I was terrified. I mean, I was absolutely terrified. To make matters worse, I don't remember what day of the week it was that the police officer stopped me in the convenience store before school and told me, but it seemed like an eternity that I knew I was going to get arrested that weekend. I mean, the police officer that arrested me, he handcuffed me from the front and everything. But this just devastated my reputation. I mean, of course, all the guys thought it was cool. The guys that were riding with me in the car that went up the road, they thought it was funny. But I had a girlfriend at the time, the girl in the parking lot. I finally was able to date her. Well, of course, when I was arrested, the father immediately said that I was a bad seed, and she had to break up with me. It was, frustrating, but it really caused a bad reputation. Ended up that I met the lawyer months, weeks later, whatever the court date was. Met up with him at the courthouse. Now, what was funny is that week that I went to go to the courthouse the first time and nobody was there, they actually moved locations. The courthouse, they just built a new one. I wasn't aware of it. I didn't know they built a new one. And it was several miles down the road from where I thought it was. So not only did I think I got the date wrong, I got the address wrong. So I mean, I was just completely messed up. So my lawyer explained everything, and the judge dismissed the case, had me pay the ticket fine. That was fine. I didn't mind paying the ticket. At this point, I was not willing to fight anymore on anything. But as far as any criminal things, all that was dropped. I guess the judge understood. The lawyer, in my mind, broke the law. He made a commitment and got distracted or took on a different case, and I got arrested for it. At 16 years old, it just destroyed me. It always seems like the powerful get to break the law and everybody else pays for it. Just like the lawyer. I didn't sue him. I didn't do anything. I just let him get away with it. I've been making videos about the government doing things and telling us that we can't do things, and the well in California is now making people pay for the well, and EPA is trying to ban wood stoves, and I get a lot of people telling me they can't do that. It's unconstitutional. How are they going to do that? They can't enforce that. What about the 10th Amendment? The 10th Amendment says it's state rights, not federal rights. A right to life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. And if they take your heat and water away, you're not happy and you can't pursue life and all that. Well, okay. I don't disagree that the Constitution protects us from certain things. We, as law-abiding citizens, do our best to be law-abiding. Now, a lot of people tell me, you need to fight this. Well, how am I going to fight it? Fighting means I got to spend a lot of money. Fighting means I risk my reputation, just like I did when I was 16. Fighting means I lose a lot of things. The other thing is this is when I say that you're guilty of this. I don't hear in the news a lot of people fighting the system because they feel like their rights have been violated. It's too expensive. We can't afford to fight. Here's an example that just eats me alive. I just can't stand this one. During the pandemic, our president told landlords, people who own property, houses, that they couldn't kick out their tenants for not paying rent. Well, that was crazy to me. I mean, that's clearly unconstitutional. The president cannot tell people what to do with their property. So people did sue. And the Supreme Court said, no, the president can't do that. Well, it didn't matter. The president went ahead and did it anyways. So he extended it, another month or two, whatever it was. Said landlords cannot kick out their tenants until this month or two or whatever was up. So obviously the president should be in jail now because he violated the Supreme Court's decision. He broke the law. But that's not what happened. Ended up, everybody else had to pay the price. Had one of those landlords kicked out their tenant for not paying rent, after the president said no, the landlord would have been arrested, even though the president broke the law and the Supreme Court decision and the Constitution. So law-abiding citizens do their best to follow the law because they have no choice. There is no recourse unless you have a lot of money, where you can take them to court. These landlords were desperate for money anyways, especially these little mom and pop landlords. You know, they got a duplex or they have a house that they rent out on the side. It's a good retirement plan, actually. And so grandma and grandpa just trying to make a little bit of money for their retirement by renting out a house. And for what, a year, 2 years, or whatever it was, they weren't able to collect any money. So they're out all that money, and now, according to my commenters, they need to fight. So what are they supposed to do? Go to jail? Is that how they fight? Are they supposed to hire lawyers? Fight them in the Supreme Court? How does this work? One of the things I've always heard is about self-defense is I would rather be tried by 12 than carried by 6 in a self-defense measure. Well, there was a kid in Wisconsin. I'm not going to mention his name because my videos are always suppressed when I do. But I'm sure you all know who I'm talking about. He defended himself in a very serious situation. 3 people were trying to harm him, probably with deadly force. And so he defended himself against that harm. Well, he was arrested and he was held in jail for months. He wasn't even allowed to take a shower, according to his story. They didn't have a shower available. Not only did they arrest him, they tortured him. He didn't have the money to do anything, so they had to start up a GoFundMe. Well, so GoFundMe shut him down. I'm not exactly sure how he got the money to get lawyers, but all these lawyers cost him hundreds of thousands of dollars and years of torture and fear that he was going to go to jail for the rest of his life. So he wins. Great. But his reputation is so tarnished now, he can't even go to college. Now, he has sued some media sources, but not everybody gets to do that for defamation. I think he's actually won a couple cases. So he's going to be financially set, fortunately, in his situation. But in normal situations like his, are you really willing to be tried by 12? You may win, but the rest of your life is over. You have damaged your reputation, damaged your financial situation, probably beyond repair. So it is quite hypocritical to say to an individual, you need to fight that. They're breaking the law. When you know darn good and well, you wouldn't fight it. It will destroy you. So here's the solution. I told you at the beginning of the video I had a solution for you. Get away from it. Now, this sounds cold. I know. People don't like it when I say this. But the number one enemy of anyone is people. If you are around too many people, somebody is going to say you harmed them at some point. So get away from them. I live out here in the country, acre and a half. I mean, there's people around me, but I don't know anybody. There's a gal at the gas station who's always very friendly to me, but I don't know her name. There's a gal at the hardware store. She's pretty friendly, but I don't know her name. Other than that, I don't talk to anybody around here. I have a no trespassing sign. Nobody's welcome on the property. I don't go and ask neighbors for help for anything. I built a tiny house by myself. I don't want anybody here, because if people think I'm friendly, then they're going to expect things from me. And in turn, they're going to get frustrated with me at some point. And neighbors become angry about something. And eventually they'll be causing you trouble, suing you, or having you arrested for different things. So get off the grid as much as possible. Now I know somebody's going to say, you're on YouTube. That's just a consequence of having a job. I mean, that's my job. So what am I going to do about it? Nobody in the community bothers me. So if you'll click this up next box, it'll take you to a video where I was talking about they're getting rid of cash. So if I can inspire you to get away from them so they don't have you arrested. Thanks for watching.